The research vessel Mercury Dawn floated quietly near the outer edge of the solar system. Inside the small ship, Dr. Daniel Hayes studied rock samples he had collected from a nearby asteroid. He was a geologist, someone who studied rocks and minerals. This mission was supposed to be simple and safe. Just collect samples, run some tests, and return to Earth in 3 weeks. Daniel worked alongside 11 other crew members. Most of them were scientists like him. There was Linda, the biologist who studied any signs of life. There was Peter, the engineer who kept the ship running. There was Commander Rick Bradley, the pilot who had flown in space for 15 years. They were good people, and Daniel enjoyed working with them. The ship had been out here for 2 weeks already. Everything was going according to plan. They had collected valuable samples that would help Earth understand more about the solar system. Daniel was looking forward to getting home to his wife and 2 children. His daughter's birthday was in 1 month, and he had promised to be there. The alarm started without warning. Rick's voice came over the speaker system, urgent and frightened. Unknown vessel approaching. It's big. Really big. Everyone get to emergency stations now. Daniel dropped his samples and ran toward the emergency shelter. It was a small reinforced room designed to protect people if something went wrong. He could hear footsteps running through the corridors. People were shouting. The ship's engines roared to life as Rick tried to move them away from the approaching vessel. Through a window, Daniel saw it. The alien ship was massive, maybe 10 times the size of the Mercury Dawn. It was dark red with sharp angles and weapon ports along its hull. It looked like something designed only for war. Rick's voice came again. Sending distress signal to Earth. They're locking weapons on us. Brace for impact. Daniel was only 20 feet from the emergency shelter when the first explosion hit. The blast threw him sideways into a wall. His head cracked against metal. Pain shot through his body. He could barely see through the smoke filling the corridor. He crawled toward the shelter. His ears were ringing. More explosions shook the ship. Somewhere behind him he heard screaming. The lights went out. Emergency red lights flickered on, barely enough to see by. Daniel reached the shelter and pulled himself inside. He slammed the door shut and locked it. The shelter was designed to survive almost anything. It had its own air supply, reinforced walls, and emergency supplies. He collapsed on the floor, breathing hard. Outside the shelter he could hear terrible sounds. Metal tearing, more explosions, people crying out. Then came different sounds. Heavy footsteps. Not human footsteps. Something else was walking through his ship. Daniel found the shelter's communication panel and tried to contact the bridge. Nothing. He tried the engine room. Nothing. He went through every channel. Every single channel was dead. Either the communication system was destroyed or there was no one left to answer. He sat in the dark shelter for hours. The sounds outside eventually stopped. Everything became quiet. Too quiet. Daniel knew what that silence meant. He was alone. Everyone else was gone. Finally, he heard the footsteps again. They stopped right outside his shelter door. Something was scanning the door. Daniel could hear electronic beeping. Whatever was out there knew he was inside. The door exploded inward. 3 creatures stood in the doorway. They were tall, maybe 7 feet high. They had rough gray skin that looked like stone. 4 arms each. Their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. They wore armor and carried weapons that looked advanced and deadly. One of them pointed at Daniel and spoke in a language he couldn't understand. The words were harsh and clicking. Another one stepped forward with a device that looked like it might be a scanner. It pointed the device at Daniel and more clicking sounds came from its mouth. Daniel tried to speak. I'm human. From Earth, we mean no harm. This was just a research mission. The creatures didn't seem to care. 2 of them grabbed him with their powerful arms. They dragged him out of the shelter. As they pulled him through the ship, Daniel saw the horrible truth. Bodies of his crew members lay in the corridors. Linda, Peter, Rick, all of them dead. The ship was destroyed from the inside. These creatures had torn through everything. They brought him to an airlock. Outside, he could see their massive ship attached to the Mercury Dawn. They pushed him through the airlock and into their vessel. The interior was dark and cold. Everything was made of dark metal. Strange symbols covered the walls. They threw Daniel into a cell. It was small, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. There was a bench and nothing else. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. He was trapped. Daniel sat on the bench and tried to process what had happened. Aliens were real. They were hostile. They had killed his entire crew. They had captured him. Why, what did they want? Hours passed. Maybe days. It was hard to tell in the cell. Eventually, the ship lurched. He felt the sensation of movement. They were going somewhere. Away from Earth, away from help. Two of the creatures came to his cell. They grabbed him and dragged him to what looked like an interrogation room. They strapped him to a chair. One of them placed a device on his head. It hurt. Images flashed through his mind. They were trying to read his thoughts, his memories. Daniel tried to resist, but it was useless. The device pulled information from his brain. Images of Earth, images of human cities, images of human technology. They were learning everything they could about his people. When they finished, they threw him back in his cell. Daniel lay on the cold floor, his head throbbing with pain. But through the pain, one thought kept him going. One certainty that he held on to with everything he had. Earth would come for him. Humans never left their people behind. It didn't matter how far away he was. It didn't matter how powerful these aliens were. Earth would find out what happened. They would see the distress signal. They would know he was taken, and they would come. Daniel had no idea that his certainty was absolutely correct. He had no idea that his capture would trigger something these aliens could never imagine. He had no idea that taking one human would be the biggest mistake this alien empire would ever make. The creatures called themselves the Zitharians. They had conquered 17 star systems. They had destroyed countless civilizations. They thought they were unstoppable. They were about to learn differently. Lieutenant Kate Morgan sat at her monitoring station at Earth's deep space tracking facility. It was located in Nevada, buried deep underground. Her job was to watch for signals from ships traveling beyond the solar system. Most days were quiet and boring. She would drink coffee, read reports, and watch screens that showed nothing but empty space. This day was different. The alarm on her console started beeping. Kate sat up straight. A signal was coming in. It was from the Mercury Dawn, the research vessel that had been collecting samples near the Kuiper Belt. But something was wrong with the signal. It was breaking up, filled with static and interference. Kate worked quickly to clean up the signal. She ran it through filters and enhancement programs. As the message became clearer, her hands started shaking. The distress call was automated. It showed the Mercury Dawn under attack. Unknown hostile vessel, hull breaches on multiple decks, life support failing. Then came the biometric data. 12 crew members on the ship, 11 flatlines, 11 dead. One signal still active, one person still alive. The message included the trajectory of the attacking vessel. It was leaving the solar system, heading toward deep space, taking the survivor with them. Kate grabbed her phone and called her supervisor. "Sir, we have an emergency. The Mercury Dawn is gone. 11 dead. One captured. I'm sending you the data now." Within minutes, the information reached the top levels of Earth's government and military. Admiral Jacob Pierce was in a meeting when his aide interrupted him. The aide's face was pale. "Sir, you need to see this immediately." The admiral read the report. He had been in the military for 30 years. He had fought in wars. He had seen terrible things. But this was different. This was first contact with an alien species, and they had just killed 11 humans and kidnapped another. He stood up. "Get me the president. Get me the Joint Chiefs. Get me everyone. We meet in 1 hour." Exactly 53 minutes later, every important military and government leader on Earth gathered in the Emergency Command Center. President Elizabeth Carter sat at the head of the table. She was only 3 years into her presidency. She had dealt with economic problems, natural disasters, and political conflicts. But nothing like this. Admiral Pierce presented the facts. At 0600 hours, the research vessel Mercury Dawn was attacked by an unknown alien warship. 11 crew members were killed. Dr. Daniel Hayes, the ship's geologist, was taken alive. The attacking vessel left our solar system approximately 8 hours ago. The room was silent. Everyone was processing the information. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer. And it was the worst possible answer. Secretary of Defense Paul Richardson spoke first. "Do we know anything about these aliens?" "Very little," Admiral Pierce replied. "Our long-range sensors tracked the vessel. It's big, much bigger than anything we have. We lost the signal after it jumped to faster than light speed." "Can we track where it went?" President Carter asked. We're working on it. Our scientists believe they can reconstruct the trajectory, but it will take time. A younger officer spoke up. Maybe we should try to communicate. Send a message. Try diplomacy. Admiral Pierce shook his head. With respect, they already sent their message. They killed 11 people and took one. That's not the action of someone who wants to talk. President Carter looked around the table. Options. I want options. General Helen Cruz, head of the Space Force, stood up. We have one option. We go after them. We get Daniel back. And we make sure they understand what happens when you attack humans. With what? Someone asked. We don't have a military fleet. We have research vessels, cargo ships, and a few patrol craft. Wrong, General Cruz said. We've been building. For the past 10 years, we've been preparing for the possibility of hostile contact. We have 6 carriers, 23 destroyers, 41 frigates, and 3 dreadnoughts that just finished testing. Admiral Pierce nodded. Protocol Omega. We planned for exactly this scenario. If humans are ever attacked or captured by hostile aliens, we respond with overwhelming force. We show them that humans are not prey. The debate went on for 40 minutes. Some argued for caution. Some wanted to gather more information first. Some worried about the cost. But President Carter ended the debate. 11 people are dead. One of our people is in the hands of aliens who killed his friends. If we do nothing, we send a message to the entire galaxy that humans are weak, that we can be attacked without consequences. I won't let that message be sent. She looked at Admiral Pierce. How long to assemble the fleet? 72 hours. Do it. Bring Daniel home, and make sure whoever did this regrets it. The order went out immediately. Across Earth and its orbital stations, military personnel received emergency activation notices. Ship crews were recalled from leave. Weapons were loaded. Fuel tanks were filled. Captain Ryan Mitchell was at home with his family when his phone rang. He was the commander of the TCS Vengeance, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. The ship was designed as a deterrent, something to scare potential enemies. Ryan never actually thought he would have to use it in combat. Captain Mitchell, this is Fleet Command. Protocol Omega has been activated. Report to your ship immediately. Ryan kissed his wife and children goodbye. He didn't tell them where he was going or why. He just said he would be back soon. His wife Sarah had been married to a military officer long enough to know that look in his eyes. Something serious was happening. At the orbital shipyard above Earth, the Vengeance was being prepared. The ship was massive, over 2,000 feet long. It carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Its crew of 800 was already arriving, taking their stations. Ryan arrived and went straight to the bridge. His executive officer, Commander Lisa Park, was already there. Captain, we're receiving mission briefing now. Ryan read the briefing. His jaw tightened. They took one of ours. Yes, sir, Lisa said. What are our orders? We're going to get him back, Ryan said simply. And we're going to teach these aliens why they should have left us alone. Similar scenes played out across dozens of ships. Young officers and veterans alike prepared for war. Engineers checked every system. Weapons officers loaded missiles and charged energy weapons. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Nobody knew what they were about to face. Nobody knew if Earth's weapons would work against alien technology. Nobody knew if they would come home, but everyone knew one thing absolutely. Daniel Hayes was one of them. He was human, and humans protect their own. 3 days after Daniel's capture, the human fleet gathered at a point in deep space. The location was called Rally Point Sigma. It was 3 light-years from Earth, chosen because it was far from any planet or station. Just empty darkness and distant stars. Ships arrived one by one, dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Each arrival created a brief flash of light as they transitioned back to normal space. First came the destroyers, sleek and deadly. Then the frigates, smaller but quick. The carriers arrived next, massive vessels carrying hundreds of fighters inside them. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched the tactical display. Each new ship that arrived showed up as a green dot on his screen. He counted them silently. 50 ships, 60, 70. The fleet kept growing. Commander Lisa Park worked at her station, coordinating with the other ships. Sir, the carrier group just arrived. That's all of them. We have 73 combat vessels ready. Ryan nodded. 73 ships to rescue one man. Some people might think that's too much. Those people would be wrong, Lisa said without looking up from her console. The other ships formed into battle groups. Each group had a specific job. Some would engage enemy vessels, some would attack ground targets, some would provide support and cover. Everything was planned down to the smallest detail. In the Vengeance's briefing room, Ryan met with his senior officers. Intelligence Officer Greg Martin stood at the front with a holographic display showing everything they knew about the enemy. "This is what we're up against," Greg began. "The aliens call themselves Zitharians. They control 6 star systems. Their homeworld is called Zitharia Prime. That's where they took Daniel." The hologram showed a planet surrounded by defensive platforms and patrol ships. It looked heavily defended. Greg continued. "The Zitharians have been conquering other species for about 200 years. They use fear and overwhelming force. Most species surrender without fighting. The ones that don't get destroyed completely, how good are they?" asked Lieutenant Commander Sam Rivers, the weapons officer. "Unknown. They've never faced serious resistance. Every species they fought was technologically inferior. We're different. Our weapons might be roughly equal to theirs. Maybe even better." "Might be," someone asked. "We've never fought them before," Greg admitted. "This is all theory and sensor data. We won't really know until the shooting starts." Ryan studied the display. Zitharia Prime had 12 orbital defense platforms. Each platform had enough firepower to threaten a capital ship. There were also minefields, patrol fleets, and ground-based weapons. "How do we get through all that?" asked the chief engineer, Lieutenant Karen Walsh. "We don't go through it," Ryan said. "We go around it. We split the fleet, hit them from 6 different directions at once, overwhelm their ability to respond. 3 task forces engage their military assets. 2 teams go for the planet," he pointed at the hologram. "Intelligence says Daniel is being held here. A detention facility on the surface. We drop in fast, grab him, and get out while the fleet keeps them busy." Lisa looked concerned. "Sir, if we're wrong about the location, then we tear apart every building on that planet until we find him," Ryan said flatly. The briefing continued for another hour. Every officer received their specific orders. Every possible problem was discussed. Every backup plan was reviewed. Meanwhile, on the other ships, similar briefings were happening. On the carrier TCS Independence, fighter pilots gathered to hear their orders. Squadron leader Amy Chen stood before her pilots. "Listen up," Amy said. "Our job is to clear the space around the planet. The Zitharians have fighters and interceptors. We take them out. We protect the capital ships while they do their work." A young pilot raised his hand. "Ma'am, what if their fighters are better than ours?" Amy smiled coldly. "Then we'll have to be better pilots." Questions? There were no more questions. The pilots knew what they had to do. They went to their fighters and began pre-flight checks. Down in the Marine Bay of the Vengeance, another group was preparing. Commander Jack Sullivan gathered his assault team. 40 Marines, the best fighters in the human military. Their job was the most dangerous of all. They would drop onto Zitharia Prime and rescue Daniel. Jack had fought in 3 wars before joining the Space Force. He was tough and experienced. His team trusted him completely. "All right, here's the situation," Jack told his Marines. "We're going into a hostile detention facility. Unknown number of enemies, unknown layout. We go in hard and fast. Find Daniel Hayes, get him out. Anyone who tries to stop us gets put down. Clear?" "Yes, sir," 40 voices answered in unison. The Marines checked their weapons and armor. The combat suits they wore were advanced technology, strong enough to stop most weapons, powerful enough to let them move heavy objects. Each suit had sensors, communications, and life support. They loaded into drop pods. These were small armored vehicles designed to fall from orbit and crash through anything in their way. It was a violent way to arrive, but it was fast and hard to stop. Back on the bridge, Ryan received a communication from Admiral Pierce. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Mitchell, the fleet is assembled and ready. You have your orders. Bring Daniel home. And show these Zitharians what happens when they mess with humanity." "Understood, Admiral," Ryan replied. Admiral Pierce looked at Ryan for a long moment. "Ryan, I'm authorizing full rules of engagement. You are cleared to use any force necessary. If they have military assets, destroy them. If they resist, eliminate the resistance. Do not hold back." Ryan understood what that meant. The Admiral was giving him permission to unleash everything. No mercy. "No second chances, one more thing," the Admiral added. "We're broadcasting this operation on all frequencies. Every species in this part of the galaxy will be watching. Make it memorable. The communication ended. Ryan turned to his crew. All hands, battle stations. We jump in 10 minutes. Throughout the ship, alarms sounded. Crew members ran to their positions. Weapon systems powered up, shields activated. The Vengeance transformed from a ship at rest to a weapon ready to strike. The same thing happened across all 73 ships. Thousands of humans preparing for battle. Most of them had never seen real combat. They were scared, but they were also determined. Lisa ran final checks at her station. All ships report ready, Captain. We're good to go. Ryan sat in his command chair. He thought about Daniel, alone in an alien prison. He thought about the 11 people who died on the Mercury Dawn. He thought about his own family back on Earth. Navigation, plot jump coordinates. All ships prepare to jump on my mark. The Vengeance's engines built up power. Around them, 72 other ships did the same. Space began to distort around the fleet. 3, 2, 1 mark, the fleet jumped. In an instant, they disappeared from Rally Point Sigma. They were moving faster than light, crossing the distance to Zitharia Prime. The journey would take 6 hours. 6 hours to think about what was coming. 6 hours to prepare mentally for battle. Ryan knew that some of his people wouldn't come home. That was the reality of war. But Daniel would come home. That was certain. Whatever the cost, whatever it took, they would bring him back. The Zitharians had made a mistake. They thought humans were just another weak species. They were about to learn the truth: humanity protects its own. Always. On Zitharia Prime, Commander Vrask sat in the Orbital Defense Command Center. He was reviewing reports from patrol ships when the alarm started screaming. Every sensor in the system lit up at once. His second officer jumped from his seat. Sir, multiple contacts. Massive energy signatures. They just appeared out of nowhere. Vrask rushed to the main display. What he saw made no sense. 73 ships had just materialized around his planet. They were in perfect formation, surrounding Zitharia Prime from all sides. Where did they come from? Vrask demanded. Unknown, sir. They just appeared. Wait, we're receiving identification signals. They're human vessels. Vrask felt a cold sensation run through him. Humans. The species whose research ship they had destroyed. The species whose scientists they had captured. He had been told humans were weak. Peaceful. Not a threat. The 73 warships surrounding his planet suggested otherwise. Send a message, Vrask ordered. Tell them this is Zitharian space. They must leave immediately or face destruction. His communications officer tried. Sir, they're not responding. They're ignoring all hailing frequencies. Then the humans opened fire. The first missiles struck the northern defense platforms. Massive explosions lit up space. 3 platforms were destroyed in the first 10 seconds. The Zitharians tried to return fire, but the human ships were already moving. They were fast and coordinated, working together like parts of a single machine. Captain Ryan Mitchell watched from the bridge of the Vengeance. The battle plan was working perfectly. 3 task forces engaged the orbital defenses while the planet's attention was divided. Zitharian patrol ships scrambled to respond, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Weapons, target the defense platforms. Fire at will, Ryan ordered. The Vengeance's main guns fired. Beams of concentrated energy crossed the distance in seconds. 2 more defense platforms exploded. The ship's missile batteries launched, sending hundreds of missiles toward military targets. Around the planet, the other human ships were doing the same. The destroyers moved in aggressive patterns, drawing Zitharian fire while the carriers launched their fighters. The frigates used their speed to flank enemy positions. Commander Lisa Park coordinated it all from her station. Task Force 1 has eliminated 4 platforms. Task Force 2 is engaging the enemy fleet. Task Force 3 is clearing the southern approach. In space near the planet, Squadron Leader Amy Chen led her fighter wing against Zitharian interceptors. The enemy fighters were fast, but Amy had been flying since she was 17. She had 10 years of experience and ice in her veins. Break by pairs, she ordered her squadron. Don't let them group up. Her fighter twisted through space, dodging enemy fire. A Zitharian interceptor got on her tail. Amy didn't panic. She cut her engines, letting momentum carry her forward while her fighter rotated. The Zitharian shot past her. Amy fired and the enemy fighter exploded. Splash 1, she reported calmly. Around her, the rest of her squadron was doing the same. The Zitharians were skilled pilots, but the humans had trained for this. Every scenario, every possible combat situation, they knew their ships better. They worked together better. Within 15 minutes, the human fighters controlled the space around Zitharia Prime. Enemy interceptors retreated or were destroyed. On the planet's surface, Zitharians watched the battle in shock. Their mighty defenses were being torn apart. Ships they were told were invincible were exploding like toys. How was this possible? Rask tried to organize a defense, but everything was happening too fast. Get me reinforcements. Call the Second Fleet, we need help now. The Second Fleet is 3 hours away, sir. Then we hold for 3 hours. Concentrate all fire on the largest human ship. The remaining defense platforms and ground-based weapons all targeted the Vengeance. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams converged on Ryan's ship. The Vengeance's shields lit up as they absorbed the impacts. Alarms sounded on the bridge. Shields at 70%, Lieutenant Commander Sam Rivers reported. They're hitting us with everything. Divert power from non-essential systems to shields, Ryan ordered. Keep firing. Take out those ground weapons. The Vengeance shook as more impacts hit the shields, but the ship was designed to take punishment. It was built with the best materials and technology humanity had. The shields held the ship's weapons found their targets. One by one, the ground-based weapons installations were destroyed. Missiles struck military bases, turning them into craters. The Zitharians had nowhere to hide. Sir, we've cleared a path to the detention facility, Lisa reported. The landing zone is hot but manageable. Tell Jack he's good to go, Ryan said. In the Marine Bay, Commander Jack Sullivan received the order. All right, Marines. We're dropping in 60 seconds. Remember your training. Stay together. Watch each other's backs. Let's bring Daniel home. The 40 Marines were already in their drop pods. These small armored capsules were designed for one purpose: to get Marines from orbit to the ground as fast as possible. Each pod held one Marine in a crash harness surrounded by layers of armor and heat shielding. Jack climbed into his pod. The hatch sealed with a hiss. He could hear his breathing inside the helmet. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. Launch in 3, 2, 1, go. The drop pods shot out of the Vengeance like bullets. 40 pods fell toward the planet, moving at incredible speed. The pods started glowing red as they hit the atmosphere. Inside, the Marines felt the crushing force of acceleration. Their suits kept them safe, but it was still brutal. Ground-based Zitharian weapons tried to shoot down the pods. A few shots hit, but the pods were too small and too fast. They fell like meteors toward the detention facility. Jack watched through his pod's camera as the ground rushed toward him. He could see the facility now. It was a large complex surrounded by walls and guard towers. Zitharian soldiers were running around trying to set up defenses. Too late. The first pods hit the facility's roof with tremendous force. They crashed through concrete and metal, smashing into the building. Jack's pod hit a second later. The impact was violent, but his harness and suit absorbed most of it. The pod's door blew off. Jack unbuckled and stepped out into chaos. He was in a corridor inside the facility. Alarms were screaming. Zitharian guards were running toward his position. Jack raised his rifle and fired. The weapon was loaded with explosive rounds designed to penetrate armor. The first 3 guards went down before they could react. More Marines were emerging from their pods, securing the corridor. Team 1, secure the entrance. Team 2, find the prisoner cells. Team 3, watch our back, move. The Marines split up and moved through the facility with precision. They had trained for urban combat hundreds of times. They knew how to clear buildings, how to move as a team, how to stay alive. Zitharian guards tried to stop them, but it was hopeless. The human combat suits were stronger and better protected. The human weapons were more powerful. The human tactics were superior. Each time the guards tried to set up a defense, the Marines flanked them or blasted through them. Jack's team moved down to the lower levels. They were looking for detention cells. Jack used his suit's scanner to check each door. Empty. 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 Then his scanner picked up a human life sign. I've got him. 3rd sublevel. East wing. The team ran downstairs and through corridors. They reached a heavy door. Jack didn't bother with the lock. He attached a breaching charge and stood back. The explosion blew the door off its hinges. Jack rushed inside. The cell was small and dark. In the corner, a man sat on a bench. He was thin and bruised, but his eyes were alert. Daniel Hayes? Jack asked. Yeah, that's me, Daniel said, his voice rough. Took you long enough? Jack couldn't help but smile. Sorry for the delay. Let's get you out of here. He cut through Daniel's restraints with a laser cutter. Can you walk? I can run if I need to. You might need to. Come on. The team moved back toward the extraction point. More Zetharian guards tried to stop them, but the Marines cut through them. Jack kept Daniel in the middle of the group, protected from all sides. They reached the facility's roof where they had entered. Above them, a human dropship was descending. It was taking fire from Zetharian weapons, but its armor held. The dropship landed. Marines piled inside, pulling Daniel with them. Jack was the last one aboard. "Go, go, go," he shouted. The dropship lifted off, accelerating hard. Zetharian fire chased them, but they were too fast. Within seconds, they were out of range, climbing toward orbit. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Ryan received the message he'd been waiting for. "Sir, extraction successful. They have Daniel." "He's alive." Ryan felt relief wash over him. "All ships, the package is secure. Execute Phase 2. Phase 2 was not about rescue anymore. Phase 2 was about sending a message. A message that would be remembered across the galaxy for generations. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and looked at the planet below. Zetheria Prime, the homeworld of the species that had killed 11 humans and captured 1. The planet was beautiful from space, with blue oceans and green continents. But Ryan wasn't interested in its beauty. "Commander Park, give me a target list. Every military installation. Every shipyard. Every weapons factory. Every base. I want them all." Lisa worked at her console. "Compiling now, sir. There are 147 military targets on the planet. Send the list to all ships. Tell them to divide the targets. Nothing gets missed." Around the planet, the human fleet moved into position. The orbital defenses were gone. The patrol ships were destroyed. Nothing stood between the human weapons and the surface. Commander Vrask watched in horror from what was left of his command center. Half the building was destroyed. Bodies of his crew lay around him. His communication systems were barely working. He managed to send one desperate message. "To any Zetharian forces receiving this, the humans are going to bombard the surface. Evacuate all military personnel immediately. This is not a drill." Evacuate now, but there wasn't enough time. The human ships had already locked onto their targets. Ryan gave the order. "All ships fire." The sky above Zetheria Prime lit up with weapons fire. Missiles streaked down from orbit by the thousands. Energy beams carved through the atmosphere. Every military target was hit simultaneously. A Zetharian military base in the northern continent simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, with barracks and training grounds and hundreds of soldiers. The next moment it was a crater half a mile wide. A shipyard on the coast was next. The facility where the Zetharians built their warships. Human missiles hit the construction bays, the supply depots, the administration buildings. Massive explosions walked across the complex like the footsteps of an angry god. An ammunition depot exploded with such force that the blast could be seen from space. The shockwave flattened everything for miles around. Ryan watched it all on the tactical display. Each target turned from red to black as it was destroyed. The list was getting shorter. "Sir, receiving reports from the surface," Lisa said quietly. "Zetharian military forces are in complete disarray. Some are trying to evacuate. Some are trying to surrender." "Ignore surrender attempts from military units," Ryan said coldly. "They showed no mercy to the crew of the Mercury Dawn. Continue firing until all military targets are eliminated." The bombardment continued for 20 minutes. It was systematic and thorough. Every single military installation on Zetheria Prime was destroyed. The planet's ability to make war was reduced to nothing. Lieutenant Commander Sam Rivers monitored the weapon systems. "Sir, all primary targets destroyed. Secondary targets eliminated. We've achieved mission objectives." But Ryan wasn't done. "Target the detention facility where they held Daniel. I want it erased from existence." "Sir, our Marines already damaged it pretty badly." "I don't care. I want to make sure there's nothing left. Fire." 6 missiles streaked down from the Vengeance. They hit the detention facility where Daniel had been tortured and questioned. The building exploded, then collapsed in on itself. Fire consumed everything. When the smoke cleared, there was only rubble. On other parts of the planet, similar scenes played out. Military headquarters became ruins. Training centers became ash. The Zetharian military machine that had conquered 17 star systems was destroyed in less than an hour. Civilian areas were untouched. Ryan had been very clear about that. Only military targets. The humans weren't monsters. They didn't kill innocent people. But they had no mercy for those who had killed their own. The dropship carrying Daniel and the Marines docked with the Vengeance. Medical teams rushed Daniel to the infirmary. He was dehydrated, bruised, and exhausted, but alive. Jack followed to make sure Daniel was okay. The doctors started running tests and treating his injuries. Daniel lay on the medical bed and looked at Jack. "How many people did you bring to get me?" Daniel asked. 73 ships. "About 30,000 personnel." Daniel's eyes widened. "All of that for me?" "You're one of ours," Jack said simply. "We don't leave people behind." Daniel started crying. He couldn't help it. For days he had been alone, afraid, thinking he might never see Earth again. And now he learned that his entire species had come to save him. On the bridge, Ryan received a communication from Admiral Pierce back on Earth. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Mitchell, mission status? Daniel Hayes is aboard and receiving medical attention. All Zetharian military assets in this system have been destroyed. We suffered minimal casualties. 3 ships with minor damage. 12 fighters lost. 47 personnel killed in action." The Admiral nodded slowly. 47 people gave their lives to save 1 man. Some people will say that's too high a price. "Those people would be wrong, sir," Ryan said firmly. "I agree. Now comes the important part. We need to make sure the Zetharians and everyone else watching understands what happened here and why." "I'm ready to broadcast, sir." "Do it. And Captain, don't hold back. They need to hear the truth." The communication ended. Ryan took a deep breath. He knew that every species in this part of the galaxy was monitoring what was happening. Word would spread fast. This was humanity's chance to define itself to the universe. Communications broadcast on all frequencies. "I want everyone to hear this. You're live, sir." Ryan stood up straight and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Ryan Mitchell of the Terran Defense Forces. I am addressing the Zetharian Empire and all other species currently monitoring this situation. On Zetheria Prime, Vrask listened from his damaged command center. On other planets across multiple star systems, alien species stopped what they were doing to hear what the human would say. 10 days ago, the Zetharian Empire attacked a human research vessel. 11 people were killed. 1 person, Dr. Daniel Hayes, was captured and taken to Zetheria Prime. This was an unprovoked attack on peaceful scientists conducting legitimate research." Ryan paused, letting that sink in. The Zetharian Empire made a choice. They chose violence. They chose to murder our people. They chose to kidnap one of our own. Today, humanity answered that choice. On the tactical display behind Ryan, images showed the destruction on Zetheria Prime. Burning military bases, destroyed shipyards, ruined defenses. We have eliminated the Zetharian military presence in this system. Every orbital platform, every warship, every base, factory, and installation capable of making war. We did this in less than 1 hour. Ryan's voice grew harder. "Let me be very clear about something. Humanity does not seek conquest. We do not want your planets. We do not desire your resources. We came to space seeking knowledge and peaceful contact with other intelligent life. But we will not tolerate attacks on our people. We will not accept the murder of humans, and we will cross any distance and pay any price to bring our people home." He pointed at the images of destruction. "You see what happened here? This is what happens when you take 1 human. 1. We brought 73 warships. We brought 30,000 personnel. We destroyed an empire's military capability. For 1 person. Imagine what we would do if you took more." The bridge was silent. Every person there felt the weight of Ryan's words. This wasn't just a message to the Zetharians. This was a message to every species in the galaxy. "To the Zetharian Empire we offer these terms. Release any other prisoners you may hold. Provide compensation to the families of those killed on the Mercury Dawn. Establish formal borders and agree never to cross into human space again. Accept these terms and we will leave. Refuse and we will return." Ryan's expression softened slightly. To other species listening to this broadcast, humanity extends a hand in friendship. We want peaceful relations. We want to share knowledge and culture. We want to explore the universe together. But understand this, we protect our own, always, without exception. Without hesitation, he sat back down. End transmission. The message was sent across dozens of star systems. It would be discussed, analyzed, and debated for years to come. But the core message was clear and simple. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had announced themselves not with conquest, but with a demonstration of absolute commitment to their own people. On Zetheria Prime, what remained of the government watched their world burn and knew they had no choice. They accepted every human demand immediately. 3 days after the battle, Daniel Hayes stood on the observation deck of the Vengeance. He was wearing clean clothes and had eaten his first real meal in over a week. The doctor said he would recover fully. His physical injuries would heal. The mental ones would take longer, but he was strong. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness was Earth, his home, his family. They were heading back now. The entire fleet was making the journey together. Behind him, Captain Ryan Mitchell entered the observation deck. "Mind if I join you?" "It's your ship, Captain," Daniel said. Ryan stood beside him and looked out at the stars. "How are you feeling?" "Confused, mostly. I've been trying to understand what happened, why Earth sent so many ships for one person." Ryan was quiet for a moment. "Do you have children, Daniel?" "2. A son and a daughter. If someone took one of them, how far would you go to get them back?" "As far as I had to," Daniel answered immediately. "That's your answer? You're part of humanity. You're one of us. It doesn't matter if you're one person or a million people. We don't leave our own behind." Daniel felt his throat tighten with emotion. 47 people died rescuing me. 47 people died protecting one of their own, Ryan corrected. They knew the risks. They went anyway. Because that's what we do. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars move past. "What happens now?" Daniel asked. "Now we go home. You see your family. You go back to your life. You do the work you love. And you remember that you're never alone." "And the Zetharians?" Ryan's expression hardened. "They'll remember too. They'll remember what it costs to attack humans." On Zetharia Prime, the recovery was beginning. The planet was in shock. Their military was gone. Their sense of invincibility was shattered. But the civilian population was untouched. The humans had been careful about that. Only military targets were destroyed. Commander Vrask survived the battle. He was no longer a commander of anything. The military structure was gone. He walked through the ruins of the orbital command center and tried to understand how it had all gone so wrong. His people had conquered 17 star systems. They had defeated dozens of species. They thought they were the strongest power in this region of space. Then they encountered humans, and in 1 hour everything changed. The Zetharian government accepted every human demand. They had no choice. They paid compensation to the families of those killed. They established borders and agreed never to cross them. They released information about all their military activities so humans could verify compliance. But more than the formal agreements, something deeper changed in Zetharian society. They had learned fear, real fear. Not of losing a battle or even a war, but of complete annihilation. The humans had shown mercy by sparing civilians, but they had also shown that they could destroy anything they wanted. Other species across the galaxy watched and learned. The human broadcast was played over and over. Governments analyzed it. Military leaders studied the battle footage. Everyone reached the same conclusion. Humans were not to be trifled with. On a planet called Nexara, the ruling council met to discuss the human situation. The Nexarans were traders and merchants. They had always been neutral, never taking sides in galactic politics. Council leader Tavik addressed the assembly. "We have all seen what the humans did to the Zetharians. What are your thoughts?" One council member spoke up. "The humans are dangerous. We should avoid contact with them." Another disagreed. "The humans are powerful, yes, but look at their actions. They didn't attack civilian targets. They didn't conquer the planet. They came for one person, retrieved him, and left. That shows restraint." Tavik nodded. "I agree. The humans responded to aggression, but they were not needlessly cruel. I propose we reach out to them, establish trade relations, show them friendship." The council agreed. Within a week, the Nexarans sent a diplomatic mission to Earth. They were the first but not the last. Other species followed. Some came out of fear, wanting to ensure they weren't seen as threats. Others came out of genuine curiosity and desire for friendship. On Earth, President Elizabeth Carter watched it all unfold from her office. The humans had gone to space as explorers and researchers. They had been forced to become warriors. Now they were becoming diplomats. Admiral Jacob Pierce sat across from her. "We've received 17 requests for diplomatic meetings. More are coming every day. The galaxy is afraid of us now," President Carter said. "Yes, but also respect us. Fear and respect can be useful. I don't want humanity to be known as the species everyone fears." "We won't be," the Admiral said confidently. "We'll be known as the species everyone respects. The species that protects its own. The species that keeps its word. That's not a bad reputation to have." President Carter thought about the 47 people who died in the rescue. They came from different countries, different backgrounds. Some were young, fresh out of training, some were veterans. All of them had volunteered to go. "We're going to take care of their families," she said. "Education for their children, financial support, counseling, everything they need." "Already arranged, ma'am." The human fleet arrived back at Earth to a hero's welcome. Crowds gathered at the orbital stations. News coverage was constant, but the real celebration was quieter and more personal. Daniel Hayes stepped off the transport shuttle at the landing facility in Nevada. His wife and children were waiting. They ran to him and he held them tight. For a long moment he couldn't speak. He just held his family and cried. His daughter, 8 years old, looked up at him. "Daddy, they said you were in space with aliens." "I was, sweetie, but I'm home now." "Did the aliens hurt you?" Daniel thought about how to answer that. "Yes, but good people came and saved me. Very brave people." His son, 10 years old, was more interested in the spaceships. "Dad, did you see the battle? Was it cool?" Daniel smiled. "It was scary, but yes, it was also amazing. I'll tell you all about it." They went home. Daniel's neighborhood had put up welcome home signs. People came by to visit, to tell him they were glad he was safe. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. That night after his children were asleep, Daniel sat with his wife on their back porch. They looked up at the stars. "I thought I'd never see you again," she said quietly. "I knew you would. I knew Earth would come." "How did you know?" "Because I know my people. I know humans. We don't give up. We don't leave anyone behind." She leaned against him. "I'm so glad you're home." "Me too." Across the city, Captain Ryan Mitchell was also home with his family. His children asked him where he'd been. He told them he went to help someone who needed it. They asked if it was dangerous. He said yes, but it was important. His wife Sarah waited until the children were in bed before asking the real questions. Was it worth it? 47 people died. Ryan thought carefully before answering. Those 47 people volunteered. They knew the risks. And yes, I believe it was worth it. Because if we hadn't gone, if we had left Daniel to die alone on an alien planet, we would have become something less than human. But so many dead for one person. It's not about the numbers. It's about the principle. Every human life matters. Every single one. We can't put a price on that. The moment we start making calculations about who's worth saving and who isn't, we lose something essential. Sarah understood, even if it hurt. "I'm just glad you came home safe." "Me too." In the following weeks, humanity began to process what had happened. There were debates about the military action. Some people felt it was too aggressive. Others thought it was exactly right. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy now knew about humanity. The Terran Defense Forces received millions of new applications. Young people wanted to serve. They wanted to be part of something that mattered. Training facilities expanded. New ships were built. Earth was preparing for whatever came next. Daniel went back to work after a month of recovery. He requested assignment to a new research vessel. His family was worried, but Daniel explained that he couldn't let fear control his life. He was a scientist. Exploration was his calling. His new ship was called the Mercury Hope, named after the vessel that was destroyed. The crew was young and nervous, aware of what happened to the last Mercury mission. But Daniel's presence calmed them. Before they launched, Daniel recorded a message that was broadcast across all human channels. In it, he thanked everyone who had helped rescue him. He thanked the 47 who died. He thanked the thousands who came to bring him home, but he also talked about the future. We can't let one bad experience define us. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. Most species out there are probably peaceful. We need to keep exploring, keep learning, keep reaching out. But we also need to remember that we're strong. We can protect ourselves. We can protect each other. The message resonated with people. It was hopeful but realistic. It acknowledged the danger but didn't give in to fear. 6 months after the battle at Zytheria Prime, Earth signed its first formal alliance with another species. The Nexarans became humanity's first true alien friends. Trade began. Cultural exchanges started. Humans and Nexarans worked together on scientific projects. Other species followed. A network of alliances and partnerships began to form with Earth at the center. Humanity became known as a species that valued friendship but demanded respect. The Zytherian Empire never recovered its former power. They became a cautious, deaf,